Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana. So glad to see you.
I know. I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute.
I know. It's crazy. So
Where are you?
I am in Whitefish, Montana, about to go to San Diego, though. So,
oh, good.
And probably as soon as we get off the call, I'm going to be getting on the plane and leaving.
Wait, I know we have our guest, but real quick, how's the remodel coming in Whitefish?
March or April now. Not even Christmas time. We won't make it for Christmas. But you know what? Isn't that how remodels go?
Yeah, it is. Always add like 6 months to whatever the time.
That's why I'm super excited to talk to Matt about money. Because it's going to be over. I'm going to need some more.
I'll teach you how to hemorrhage it. Just do a remodel. That's how you hemorrhage money.
That's exactly right. I know.
Awesome.
Well, I am super excited to have our guest on today. My friend, Matt Morizio, and Linda, I know he'll be your friend after this too, but Matt is the founder of Reconstructing Wealth, a wealth management company. He is, Linda, the father of 7, husband to his wife, Addie, a former professional baseball player. And Matt, we're just so excited to have you. Thanks for being on.
Wow, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for that. I'm thrilled to be here. Seriously, I love what you two are doing. So cool to be part of this conversation.
If we weren't going to talk about money, we could talk about just parenting 7 kids, really. So we might have to have you back for that.
We can. I can promise you there's no manual on it. So that's 7 different conversations.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a have to.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So, Matt, we like to start with you were born and then what happened. We kind of, you're young enough. You can start from you were born and what happened.
I have 7 children now, so that has to add some years of my life. So I was born in Massachusetts, and like Dana said in the intro, I had loved baseball from really young age. That was always my dream. That was my thing. Like I remember writing in my 6-year-old when I was 6, my nursery school graduation yearbook. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I wrote baseball player. But to me, it was like a declaration. Like I really wanted to chase that. I wasn't alone. There was a lot of firefighters and astronauts and veterinarians and other sports too. But for me, I realized like I want this to be my thing. So I quite literally chased that for 20 years.
Wow.
I went to school in Boston at Northeastern eventually, and I was drafted out of high school. I was drafted back in college. I eventually went and played. So I was in Idaho Falls, Idaho, actually, for my first season. And we went Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah. So never in Whitefish, but I have seen Montana, and it's gorgeous. I used to drive up, because everything's on a bus when you're playing. So I used to drive out and wonder why people said there's no land left in America. There was nothing but land on our bus rides.
Wow.
But then eventually that dream ended. And, that's a hard realization. Well, first of all, it's a bit of a blow to an ego when somebody says you're not good enough and your dream's no longer alive, because that was what happened. I got a phone call during spring training of 2011, and they told me you're done. And nobody else wanted me. So there goes that's the end of that dream, just like that. I got my stipend allowance to drive home, and from Arizona back to Massachusetts we go.
Wow.
We had just gotten married then, and we didn't have a place to live because we were supposed to be playing kind of all around the country. You sort of go to spring training, and then they tell you what team you're on, so that determines where you're driving to next. So we didn't have a place to live. We had just a temporary apartment until spring training. So we're calling family, scrambling to figure out where we're going to stay. We're kind of couch surfing, like family had beds and couches and wherever, until we could land on our feet. But in that couch surfing, homeless summer, we got pregnant with our first child. So that basically hasn't stopped. Now we're at 7 kids in 14 years. So there's probably been, this is not an exaggeration, there's probably been 5 months of my 14 years of marriage that we haven't, since having children, that we haven't had a baby in diapers in our house. So it's a long diaper chapter of life that we're still in it.
Which is why we're talking about money, probably.
Yeah, you aren't kidding. I've been waiting for that diaper raise people talk about when you stop buying diapers. I just haven't stopped buying them. But now fast forward here, I'm 4 years ago moved to Charleston, South Carolina. I couple different spots in business, but eventually a little over a year ago launched my own wealth management firm. So here I am, licensed in a few states, and all the things, all the licensing and everything you need for investment advising. And here I am in Charleston. I love it. It's been amazing.
What led you to the wealth space?
Yeah.
Well, it was a bit of an accident, interestingly enough. So as I was an athlete, I was courted by, that's the only way I can describe it. I don't know how else to describe it. Kind of courted by a few financial advisors because they thought, hey, this guy might make it to the big leagues one day. And if I make it to the big leagues, league minimum today is like 750 grand. It was like 500 grand then. So like you sign one deal, you make a lot of money. So they were kind of banking on the potential of my future. But in that courting process, I kind of got to know a few of them. And I was very unimpressed because they all sounded like they did the same thing. My first real job after baseball, I finished my degree and then I went to a staffing firm called K-Force. And it was because I was the sole provider. I had a brand new grad resume and no income. So that wasn't really a great start to my husband/father/provider years. But I went to this staffing firm because it's like your job, your business model is help people like me find jobs. I can't get in front of a hiring manager. You have hiring managers as clients. You play matchmaker for me. But in that process, I actually was recruited by them through that interview process. I was recruited by them to actually like work for them, which was not the plan. So I was in finance staffing, and in that temporary finance and accounting staffing role, my job was pure sales. I was on the road meeting 10 to 12 people in person a week, 100 cold calls a day, and just go, go, go. And that hamster wheel never ended. I was even in Cabo on one of the top performer trips. It was a big publicly traded billion-dollar company. So it's the gala event, all expenses paid. Everyone's in their gowns and suits, and we're on the beach. And you're supposed to really be fired up to go back and do your thing for the company at that. But I remember having this stark realization there that I looked at the two tracks in that world, the producer track, which I was doing, selling, or the management track, where you manage sales teams. And eventually, I guess, I was looking at the tops of everybody in that track, the number one salesperson or the CEO or the C-suite. And I was looking at them and I'm like, I don't want anybody's life here. And that's not a good thing because theoretically, I've climbed to the cream at the top of this company, and there's not really much difference now besides just produce more, do more. And if I don't want anybody's life here, this is what my future is going to look like. So I actually left that kind of deflated and like not in a great place headspace. But in my outbound meetings, because now I had one child, now I have four, went from apartment to house, one car to two, like life got more expensive. So I needed to continue to push. In those 10 to 12 in-person meetings a week, I met the founders of the firm that I worked for, the wealth management firm, and very similarly, we were getting a coffee. They were my KPIs. Like I needed to hit 10 to 12 in-person meetings a week so I could check that box for the mothership, and move forward. So this was one of 12 meetings I was supposed to hit, but we hit it off in that coffee combo, and he was like, hey, have you ever considered wealth management? Because I think you'd be pretty good in it. And I told him no, respectfully, but I shared because my experience with advisors before as an athlete, kind of unimpressed. I was in what I call a Me Too business. Like I walked in pretending like I had something different to sell from a recruiting standpoint to the CFO or whoever I was sitting across from. But I knew what I had was basically what the person next in line was going to come in and try to sell them. So I didn't feel like I had a unique proposition, and I didn't want to continue my entire life just selling myself forever. And I felt like wealth management was that,
Yeah.
So I said, I thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know. I don't think that's for me. And he said to me, well, I'm going to mail you this book. It's written by my mentor. It describes our investment strategy. And if you like it, let's just keep talking. If you don't, so anyway, end this long-winded story of how I got into it, I read the book, and it detailed this investment strategy I had never heard, but it really felt like, because they were the one managing the money, doing the buying and the selling on my behalf, there was no middleman where there was like my money was getting farmed out to different funds. I was really attracted to it because I'm as an athlete, I'm wired to be in the game. Like that's who I am. And I felt like this was an opportunity to be in the game. He mailed me the book. I read it, and I had to come follow up. I'm like, I got to see more about this. So that's how I started into it, because I really got attracted to that strategy, and here I am. I don't know, almost a decade later, running it. It's really fun.
Wow.
Well, we have to know, what was the book?
What was the book? Yeah.
It's called Dancing with the Analysts by a guy named David Malik, who
Nice.
he was an advisor in Philadelphia. And I'll tell you, any listeners that hear that and say, I want a copy, I'm happy to mail you a copy.
Oh,
because
good.
I'm not saying that it's going to do the same for you, but that book quite literally changed the trajectory of my life, because it got me into this world, and now I'm in this world and launched what feels more like a calling than a career at this point in the world that I didn't even want to be in. So, I mean, God's got a sense of humor and a half on this one. But anyway, to any listeners that hear that, send me, you can follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Matt Morizio, and you send me a DM about the book. I will mail you a copy of the book for free, no strings attached, because somebody did that for me, and it changed the trajectory of my life.
Do you think it changed it, Matt, because you changed the way your perception of what advisors do, and you saw something you could do and feel good about? Or what do you think was so impactful about it?
Yeah, it was that. But for me in particular, it was because I had this opportunity in front of me, and that book was the thing that really attracted me to that opportunity. So it changed my life, because had I not read that book, I probably would have said, thank you, but no thank you. I don't feel like getting into wealth management. And this entire, I wouldn't launch this business. My life would have looked totally different. So that's why for me it changed the trajectory. But it got me into the world because I saw this unique investment strategy that I had not heard any advisors speak about. And I liked that. I was looking for something unique. I just didn't know it was going to be wrapped up in the form of wealth management.
I love how sometimes even a book, like as silly as it sounds, will give us confirmation on something that we're, try, or a podcast or whatever like that. It's just cool how we get confirmations like that. I love that so much. Okay, Matt, a question. Okay, so we had talked a little bit around the shift that's happening around money and the relationship with money that people need to have. And ironically, when we were messaging about this a few weeks ago, even compared to now today, some people are making less money than what they have been used to making over the last couple of years. Like, we've all ridden this crazy high wave over the last couple of years. And I'm even having conversations now with people that are, I don't want to say panicked or freaking out, but they're just not used to, they are a little bit, because they're not making what they were making over the last couple of years. And so I was like, man, this is perfect timing for you to talk a little bit about this, because you said to me that it changed your life because of the relationship that you have with money now compared to what you did before when your mindset shifted. So will you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, first, your audience, I know, is a lot of them are in the real estate world, and I get it. That's a very real pain, making a bunch of money and then seeing it essentially fall off a cliff, it feels like. And yes, there's no way. So I want to preface what I'm about to share with, there's no way that you can completely emotionally detach from it, because money is that engine that needs to support our life, not just our lifestyle, but quite literally, we need to buy food with money. So yes, I understand that intimately. I'll share a little bit about that, where I get what it feels like when your money falls off a cliff. I'll go there. So when I joined the wealth management world, they gave me a runway, which was really awesome. It's super generous of them, unheard of in the industry, which speaks to their character, a testament to both Ben and Jim, as their names, from Beck Bodie. I love them. I admire the heck out of them for that, because they gave me this run. They took a flyer on me that I had no experience in the industry. They just saw something in me and said, let's give this guy some time. He's got a young family. Let's make sure he doesn't need to put food on the table or doesn't worry about putting food on the table. And eventually, though, that runway ran out.
Yeah.
And I didn't build up a robust enough practice of my own yet to support my family. So as that cliff started to fall, meaning like they started to retract the salary every paycheck, it was something to the tune of like annualized, something like $12,000 a paycheck. It was like fell off a cliff. And I had already taken a bit of a pay cut just to jump into this world as a new opportunity. And that spiraled to a place in a really rapid order, maybe like 5 or 6 months. It got to a place where I was trying to feed, a family with 4 kids and a wife, and I'm the sole provider, on what looked like a $50,000 annualized salary. Now in New England, that's really an impossibility. And I tried to refinance. I had drained all my savings. My credit cards were max. I had in the midst of a refinance on my home to cash out some money to be able to pay some of those debts off to be able to provide. But the runway stopped. The refinance didn't close. And I was in this position where I don't have access to capital. I literally don't have a credit card, a savings account, anything. Now I'm like a 30-something-year-old man with 4 children at the time, or 5 children at the time, I think, on this one, because I pretty quickly had a 5th child when I started working. And I'm calling my mother to say, I need to borrow your credit card. I need to buy groceries. And thank God she was okay with it. She was probably head scratching, like, why? Or maybe she was saying, I told you not to jump into that entrepreneurship stuff. But there I am. So I get the feeling of like, dang, my life is totally upside down. Will I ever get through this? And I'm working through it. I'm continuing the entrepreneurial journey. So reinvesting in yourself, that's what growth feels like. It feels like hemorrhaging cash. But I will tell you, in that season, I was immersed in the language of money. Like the same way you might be learning Spanish and then you go to Spain and then you really learn Spanish through immersion. I didn't know the language of money or finances yet, but I was now employed to help coach people on it and teach people and advise people. So I was forced to learn it really quickly. And as I learned how it worked, I started to see these levers I could pull, like within the finance world. Like I just explained, there's credit cards. They're not all good levers. Like credit card is not a great lever. Having to refinance your home to pay off credit card is really not a great opportunity. I mean, this is not textbook finance advice here. But I'm learning like, okay, wait, hold on. This doesn't mean if I don't have enough in my savings account, then I fall on my face. There are some just in case of emergency break glass kind of levers, and I broke a lot of glass. But like I needed the runway to extend, but I was learning how loans, how savings, how it all worked. And as that education process was happening, I was realizing like I'm less emotional, even though financially speaking, I was in a valley of all valleys, even worse than when I was a pro athlete making literally $6,000 a year, plus maybe $2,000 in my off-season jobs, which included, substitute teaching and snow plowing and selling kitchen knives.
Wow.
But I was a sub 5-figure salary annualized. I was on a 4-figure salary, but I had no credit card debt to my name. So on paper, my financial picture was probably healthier there, but I was scared to death of money. I felt like I needed to squeeze a quarter out of every nickel. I worried every day about it, and I didn't even have many bills to my name. Yeah. So here I am in a worse financial picture, but I've started to learn the language of how it works, and my relationship with it really started to change. I was less emotional about it, and I looked at it more like chess pieces on a chessboard. I just had to figure out the next play.
That's good.
And that's been really powerful. That's like the long game for people who are struggling out there with financially speaking. That's the long play. The shortcut, unintentionally, I'm not saying I did this by design. I would say God intervened here, but I knew money had this hold on me because I was worried about it all the time. Rightfully so. I'm calling my mother to buy groceries for my kids. I can't even support my own family, and I'm 30 whatever. But I knew it had its grips on me, and I had been convicted for years to like consistently tithe, to give money away. And I was intermittent with the amounts because I was like, I can't even feed my family. Like, why am I give any away? But I made a commitment right around that time, to be quite honest, that I said, okay, I'm going to commit to this 10% because I'm tired of this money having a hold on me. I'm going to at least stick to it because it's in my heart to do it, and I haven't done it. And so what I ended up doing was, for me, this is how it just worked for me. It actually, in hindsight, worked out really well, but this is just how my brain was going to be able to manage that. I had to set up an account set up a different savings account. Like, I couldn't just move it from my current checking to a new savings that I was staring at, because I was probably going to transfer it back and use it. So it had to be in like a separate bank, separate everything, that I really wasn't even logging into. So every time I got paid, I put 10% into that other savings account, and we call it in our house a blessing account. But I've encouraged and advised people to use it as however you want. Generosity account, other people account. But I would put 10% every time in there, and then so that's the disciplined act of giving. But then when I felt called on my heart to give, for whatever reason, my wife and I have an agreement that if we feel like it's on our heart to give anything, so long as we have enough in that account, then we don't ask questions from the other one about why you want to do that. And that act of putting money aside and intentionally using it for other people to help other folks, that has more than anything else dramatically changed my view on money. Because psychologically now I was like, why is this working? I talked to a couple PhDs that have PhDs in psychology, and kind of ran by them what I just shared with you. And they were like, yeah, that makes sense, because in the academic world, we often will say there's two root emotions of love and fear, and all the emotional trees kind of stem from those two root emotions. And what you're talking about is you were living in this fear-based emotion of hoarding and scarcity and worry and keep. And now you're voluntarily living in this love-based emotion of giving away. And we know psychologically from our studies that like those two emotions can't coexist at the same time. And love's always the stronger emotion. So what you're doing subconsciously, they're like, you're rewiring your subconscious to say, hey guys, we don't have to worry about this anymore because we're giving it away. So you're okay. You don't have to fear this thing. And I didn't know any of that, but I have wondered why it works so well, that I have pursued, and there are white papers written on giving and I won't go into all of it, but I would say education and giving have been the two big factors that have quite literally shifted my relationship with money, and in turn changed my life, because now it's not this monkey on my back, and I get to be more present with my wife, with my kids, in moments that matter.
So I have to imagine, Matt, that because you're going through this while you're in the wealth management world, right?
Yeah.
I have to believe that you had some imposter syndrome. Here,
Come on.
your money, so I can make you make money, but I can't seem to figure out how to make the money, right? So there had to be even a lot of those emotions going on, which makes it even harder, I think, to move to that place of not having all the fear around money.
So much. That's really observant, Linda, because I've shared that story a number of times, and I haven't yet had anybody connect those two dots. And I was quite literally selling the dream to people and living the nightmare simultaneously. And that's really difficult headspace to be in. And I can, just for me, I can just share what worked for me. The only way I was able to be carried through that is because before I ever said yes to jumping in that industry, I prayed hard. And I really believed that this was not me. I was the one that wanted to say no to this industry. And every time I tried to sort of fact check and figure out and find out the reasons why this was not the right opportunity for me, I felt like God blew the window wide open to say, see, I told you this is exactly why you're supposed to be. So I really felt like this was a God-led move. And I knew, even in that like horrible headspace of living a financial nightmare and selling a dream simultaneously, I knew that God wasn't leading me to this career to completely fall flat on my face and not be able to feed my family. I knew there was another side to this, and probably, I would never have known I don't know if would have started if I knew how long this was going to take, but that was the thing that allowed me and gave me the confidence needed to say, like, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And just because my own personal picture currently looks like a train wreck on paper, doesn't change the fact that the rules of the game are the rules of the game. And I know how the rules work.
Yeah.
I may just not have the right pieces yet on my chessboard to play, but you do, and I can help you with yours.
Wow. I love
Yeah,
that.
that's so good. Okay, two things I love about this is, one, I think money has a hold on so many people. I mean,
So many.
because like you said, Matt, I mean, we do have to have it to eat and to have shelter. And, you know, I mean, it is. And I do think it has such a hold on people. And at different seasons in your life, Linda and I have talked about this so many times on the podcast, but when you know what it's like to have no money, you're not as scared of that happening again, because you know that you'll go figure it out and make more money. You know, I mean, it's almost like, okay, well, you've been there, and yeah, you never want to go back to there, but at least you know that you could figure it out one way or another. But it's like it gets such a hold on people. And then so I love that you're sharing this, because I know that there are so many listeners right now that money probably has a really big hold on them, especially if they're in a season of life where things have changed financially. But I did want to ask you, and second thing I was going to say is, I love that the way that you emotionally detach from it is from giving, just being, because
letting go.
Yeah, you let go of it. And I mean, that is so good. Like, somebody out there needs to hear that who's listening to this, because when you're just hoarding it and holding on to it, it does have such a hold on you. But when your mindset is, it's not really mine anyway, so let me give some of it, you know, it shifts everything.
Yeah.
So can I share one image for anybody that might resonate with? And I know you had a question, so I don't mean to interrupt you, but as you're talking now, first off, I need to give the disclaimer that if you're giving in the hopes of seeing somebody smile or getting a thank you in return, or even worse, hope that the universe or God's going to give you more in abundance back because you gave, that's just selfishness disguised as generosity. That doesn't count. That's not That's not a true act of service. That's a selfish act, hoping that you get something in return. So that's not what we're talking about here. What I'm saying is, if you have your grips on money, right, and imagine like holding it tight, you have all dollar bills gripped hard in your fists. It is quite impossible, if somebody walked up to you with anything good, something, for you to receive that as you got these tightly clenched fists. You cannot receive with tightly clenched fists. You quite literally have to open your hands to be handed anything. And the same is true to give it away. In order to receive what I think God's put you on this earth to receive, you cannot hold things tightly like they're yours, because they're not. So you quite literally have to open your hands and live in this heart posture of your palms open, palms up, hands open, to be able to receive what you're supposed to. But if you're going to receive that, you also have to not hold tightly onto the money. You can't do it. So I like that imagery of if I'm going to live like this with tight fists, I will never receive what I'm supposed to receive, because I can't, because my fists are closed.
That's so good. So good.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's a couple of charities locally that I really love, what the lady does. And so I just recently reached out to her and said, hey, because, you know, in times like this, there's so many other ways you can give too. Like, you can use your influence to raise money to give, whatever. And one good thing about people's money going down is it does make you rethink some things that you haven't rethought in a while, that you haven't, you've just been letting go the way they are because money was free flowing. So I reached out to her and said, hey,
like your subscriptions, I just recently went through and I'm like, these subscriptions are out of control. Like, it's almost like you need your credit card to get hacked so that you can go and look at everything that automatically comes off of your card.
So true. So I was reaching out to this local charity. It's called Hearts for Homes. And she helps a lot of elderly people, because it gets hot in Texas in the summer and they don't have AC. And I've just seen the great work that she does. And God had really put her on my heart a lot. And so I reached out to her and said, hey, locally, they want me to teach a class. I'm going to make them charge, a fee, but I want all the money to go to your charity. Would you come and, just talk a little bit about it? And she said, Linda, you wouldn't believe, I know things are tough out there, because she said our donations are so far down right
Yeah.
now. So you
Wow.
can tell that people's tendency is to hoard and to hang on, just like you said. But my question for you is this: I know you learned some lessons around what you probably thought you weren't going to learn about the difference between not letting money have a hold on you when, good Lord, it had to have had a hold on you in your situation. But what
Yep.
are some of the other things you learned? Because I don't think God gives us these things not to learn something from them so that we can help other people in those situations. What do you think are some of the key things you learned having lived through that journey that God had you going through?
Yeah. Well, in the moment, I'm thankful I had the wherewithal to see it as a journey, and I don't think I only have that because I prayed so hard about it and felt like it was really God led, that I was of the mind of like, well, this isn't the end of it. I know there's something, so I know He's bringing me through this to learn something. So I have a folder in my iPhone of photos, of screenshots of all the negative bank balances and maxed out cards, and I have it all, and
Wow.
it's probably hundreds of photos, over 100 photos at least, and I will one day share it. I think. I'm not somebody who's on the mountaintop talking about the journey. I'm in the journey. I'm like climbing the mountain. So I think it's important to recognize, like, I'm not that person that you maybe see on Instagram that went through the grind and then sold their business for 8 figures and now it's good and telling you it's worth it. Like, I'm actually living it. So
Right.
I just wanted to clarify that. And I've learned that in this journey, it makes me a far more empathetic advisor for people, and because I get it, like, I'm living it, I've lived it, I'm living it, I understand it, and I think that firsthand experience really gives some meaningful, practical advice that it's often atypical. Now, I consider myself really blessed to have a community of clients and people in my world that like zigging when people zag and kind of live by a different design. Like, they intentionally chase discomfort because they know growth is at the extremity. So those are people in my life and my clients. But if you live life like that, it's an extraordinary life. But by definition, it's not ordinary, right? It's not so most of the advice, to answer your question, Linda, what I've learned is most of that advice for people like that isn't textbook. If you're going to live a life that's not a textbook life, then the advice you get on how to get there is probably not going to be textbook.
Yeah.
And I've really learned that's probably been the biggest eye opener, because I've had plenty of clients come back to me and say, like, why are you telling me that? Doesn't that negatively impact you? Or aren't people like you supposed to tell me not to spend that money, or not? Aren't I supposed to invest that retirement account? How come you're telling me not to? But it's because I've been through it, I see the bigger picture and I understand the journey more intimately.
Okay, Matt, so that actually kind of walks right into my last question. I know we're about out of time, but I know that you have invested in yourself when you probably didn't have money, and when you have had money, you've been coached by, part of the Ed Milet and Andy group, Dan Martell. We met kind of through the John Maxwell High Capacity group. Mac Lake, you're in coaching with Mac. Now you just signed up for you are brand builders. You have been coached and mentored by some of the best that Linda and I love both so much too. But my question is, like, why would you encourage other people to invest in themselves like that, even when you don't have the money or you don't have the extra? You see it as an expense, not as an investment.
Yeah. I attribute it back to my athletic mind and my years there. And you can reference it even today. Even if you're not an athlete, you can look at the greats of the day, like the LeBrons or whoever you think is the greatest today in whatever sport. They all have coaches. As a matter of fact, they have a bunch of coaches in all different areas of their life to really maximize their performance and at the thing that they do. And I say to myself, if Hall of Famers, if LeBron or whoever you love needs coaches, then how ignorant is it for me to think I don't need a coach? So I look at it like that. Now, I understand the finances of it. Obviously, it's my world. I get that. but it's still not an excuse because there is so much valuable free information today that even if you can't pay for access, because I look at access as either somebody walks you through a door you couldn't open. Those are the relationships, it's the who you know, not what you know, or you pay for access.
Yeah.
You got into a door because you paid the fee. Now, if you can't pay the fee to get into a door, then don't pay the fee to get into the door, but you could still learn from that person. All the people you just mentioned put out so much valuable free information. It's on you to go and get it, though. And that's, to me, we live in the age of information. For anybody to say, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do. Yeah. They ask me about money, too. Like, what would you say to somebody who has no idea where to start with finances? It's the same as if you have no idea where to start with anything. I would literally tell you to go into ChatGPT today, say, I'm a brand new whatever. I'm novice to personal finances. I don't know a thing. Talk to me like you're a seasoned financial coach and speak to me like I'm a fifth grader. What are the top 5 questions I need to be asking as I start this journey on learning about personal finances? And you're going to get 5 wonderful questions. And then you just say, chat, now answer those 5 questions for me.
Yeah.
Or give me experts in those areas. Give me people that can be mentored by. Like, there's no reason you can't figure it out except that you're not trying.
Yeah. Linda, that reminds me, Matt, you don't know Linda and her husband's full story, but they used to be $600,000 in debt, and now they have a very high net worth. And but when they were in debt, I just remember Linda, Jimmy saying all he did was read every single book on wealth at the time. I mean, then there wasn't ChatGPT or YouTube or whatever, but it was like The Millionaire Next Door and Rich Dad Poor Dad, and any book that Jimmy could get his hands on, he just immersed in. Y'all did, because it was the only thing you knew how to do was go learn about it so that you could get out of it to figure it out to make it.
So cool.
We did exactly what Matt said. We found the who's that knew how to do what we needed to do. Yeah. And we found the knowledge of what was missing that got us in this, the suddenly place that we were in. When you wind up, it's gradually and suddenly always, right? And when you wind up in the suddenly, there's things that you didn't know or understand that was happening during the gradually that got you to the suddenly, right? So we had to go figure out what are those things that we either missed or never knew or whatever, or ignored, that got us to that suddenly place. So Matt, with you as an advisor, who do you think you help the best? If somebody's listening out there and they're like, man, I want someone I can trust and who's been through, what you've been through, because you would understand my situation better. Who are the people that you serve?
And also, how can people find you, Matt, after that too?
Yeah.
Well, I think that and I've learned this from the very early years of starting in this world. My only coaching and advice was on how to build a practice was, hey, just do what you did, which was make a lot of phone calls, meet a lot of people. Just do what you did, only talk about that book you just read, because that's the investment strategy. And that was all I got for coaching on how to do this world. So in that first year, very much of a shotgun spray effort, I met everybody I could possibly meet that I knew. And probably 80% of the people that became clients, unintentionally, but 80% reflected some part of my story. They were either athletes or former athletes, entrepreneurial, growth-minded, into personal development, cared about their health. There was something in there. And I realized it's because when you speak to somebody about your pockets as opposed to your corporate budget, they really care to see a reflection of themselves in some way, shape, or form, like where they want to go, where they've been, who they admire to be, something they aspire in you. So it's people like me. I don't mean to say that like you look like me. I'm just saying you're a purpose-driven provider of a family. You feel like you got a big calling on your life. You like to zig when people zag. Those are the people that I can best serve, because that's the walk I've walked my entire life.
Yeah. Love it.
So good. That's so good.
And to find me, that was the second question. I think the best spot is probably Instagram. I would say I'm most active there. It's just my name, at Matt Morizio. My website is reconstructingwealth.com. But I'm probably, if you want to get to know me and who I am, Instagram's probably the spot to do it. And if you want, you could also send me a DM about this podcast. If you don't want the book, but you want a lighter lift, I created a course, a 3-video course. It's free. It requires an email address. That's about it. But it's maybe 6 to 8 minutes each video on going from scarcity to abundance, from confusion to clarity, to gain traction, get hold of your finances, to stop letting them get hold of you. And it's all there. It's a great starter if you're that person that's like, I don't really know what to do. I don't even want to talk to him because I'm embarrassed, but I do want to learn something. Don't be embarrassed, but that wouldn't be the first time I've heard people say that. It's like people who want to get in shape before they go to the gym. I mean, what do you have? That doesn't make any sense. What's the gym there for?
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you want to send me a DM and you want the course, just let me know. I'll send that to you. And that, again, that's free. It's just stuff that's out there to hopefully help you.
That's
Love
awesome.
it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Matt, this is great. Thank you so much for being on. I know it's going to help and impact a lot of people, which is why Linda and I do this every week. So we appreciate you. And we'll link your website and your Instagram in the show notes also. And yeah, the course sounds awesome. So hopefully people will go get that. But thank you for your time, and we appreciate it.
Oh, man, thank you both. It's been an honor. Seriously, thank you for having me.
Nice to meet you. And if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that now. And the greatest compliment you can pay Dana and I is to pass this podcast along to anyone that you think would benefit from these messages. And if you have not sent in an opportunity or a challenge that you're faced up against, please do that. Or if you have a guest that you'd love for us to feature on the podcast, reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Dana, I'll see you next week. And Matt, thank you so much. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.